It's wonderful to see a packed room. Thank you all for being here. I'm just going to wait until a few other people get settled before we start.
There are 4 empty chairs here. It's going to be standing.
Okay? All right. It is 1:15 and we will start. I am Susie Weisinger and I am the president of the Residents' Council. Today is the annual meeting of the Residents Association. We are here to recognize and applaud the many committees who strive to make our lives at Whitney Center fulfilled and engaged. For the residents who voted to nominate new council members, the important questions were: what is a residents' council? What are its objectives? And why is it so important? And here is why it is important to all of us. It consists of 12 residents who want to contribute to the fulfillment of Whitney Center's mission of excellence in senior living. Its objectives are to be the voice of our community, preserve our rights as residents, ensure our safety, comfort, and well-being, as well as fulfilling our intellectual and social needs. Those of you who have attended our monthly meetings know that we have addressed a large range of subjects that are of concern to all of us: dining services, clinical updates, housekeeping, safety issues, solar panels, communications, K4, the Olin-powered farm and its proximity and what it could mean to us, and an hospital advocacy program proposed by our own member, Dr. Erwin Braverman, and many more topics. Today we will hear from the chairs of our 12 standing committees, and we will learn who the newly elected members of our 2023 councils are. But first, I would like to ask the members of the current Residents' Council to introduce themselves. Erwin, can you introduce yourself down the line? Introduce yourself. Erwin Braverman, everybody, our treasurer. Floyd Kaplan, assistant treasurer. Nancy Rosenbaum, co-chair of the Nature and Conservation Committee. Rosalind Lefker. Lucy Ambach. Lynn Hawkins, Vice President. Esther Crystal, Chair of the Dining Committee. Evelyn Krevelin, Chair of the Art Gallery. Bitsy Clark, Assistant Treasurer. And Phyllis Medvedo, very important person. Thank you all for your contribution this year and in the past. But first, I would like to recognize also the fact that some of us will be leaving the council today at the end of their terms. Phyllis Medvedo, who has distinguished herself as the heart and soul of this committee, and who has been involved in all topics important to the residents for the last 4 years. Thank you, Phyllis. Betsy Clark, who has amazed us all by your passion and energy, working on behalf of the Employee Association Fund, raising it to its highest levels during the past 4 years. Betsy, congratulations. And of course, Erwin Braverman, whom we thank for being our trusted treasurer and for his common sense that has helped us in many circumstances during the past 4 years. As for me, regretfully, I will be leaving also after spending 3 great and rewarding years on the council. Thank you. We will now hear from the standing committees as they present their annual reports. We thank them and their members of their committees for donating their time on our behalf. But I would be remiss if I did not also acknowledge our many special interest committees who volunteer to keep us involved in so many of our favorite activities. Thank you all as well. Please know that it has been a privilege representing you. It is now my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, the chair of the Art Film Committee, our friend Dodi Gol.
Thank you, Susie, and we will certainly miss you. The Art Committee has co-chairs, myself and Ann Hutton, and other members are Myra Josephson and Rosalind Lefker. This current Art Film Committee previews and then selects films that deal with art and artists, architecture, photography, music, and cultural events in many categories. These films are shown twice a month on Fridays now, alternating between the 6th floor Commons and the CAC so that both South and North Building residents have a chance to attend. Recent well-attended and appreciated films include The Artist, Degas and the Dance, John James Audubon, the architect Frederick Law Olmsted, the Alvin Ailey Dance Company, The Impressionists and the Man Who Made Them, the New Haven Green and Grove Street Cemetery, the cellist Yo-Yo Ma, and the New York Public Library. I hope you remember some of that. These films have come from the Connecticut Library System and other sources. We plan to continue showing art films into the future at Whitney Center. Please come.
Hi, I'm Evelyn Crevelin, Chairman of the Art Gallery Committee. The Art Gallery Committee is responsible for the art exhibits that grace the walls of the north end of Main Street in Whitney Center. We want to thank Whitney Center for its support of the arts and for providing nurturing environment that enriches the lives of its residents. The next show will be installed on January 10th, and it features works by residents, staff, and resident students who attend art classes in our own art studio. The Art Gallery Committee organizes 3 exhibits a year. This year, we presented you with the resident staff exhibit in January, last January. The invitational art exhibit in May featured 9 Whitney Center artists who each contributed several works. We have so many resident artists here that we're very privileged and enjoy having them. And the last show is works by the Treasure Show, which is now on Main Street, featuring interesting and meaningful items that our residents enjoy sharing with the Whitney Center community. This year's treasures are exceptionally attractive and interesting. I hope you'll agree with that. We normally start working on each new exhibit as soon as the last exhibit is hung. This next show will open with a cocktail reception on Friday, January 13th. The reception will be presented as an afternoon tea. Wine will be included, as well as a light snack and desserts. I hope you'll all come and enjoy the opening of our next show. I would like to thank my fabulous committee for all the work that they have done to help make this exhibit such a success. Lastly, I want to thank all of you who have contributed your treasures and your art to help make these exhibits happen. Without your cooperation, these exhibits would not be possible. Thank you.
The next speaker will be Nancy Rosenbaum, co-chair of the Conservation and Nature Committee.
And Joe Blumberg, should he come up also?
You can introduce him
Yeah.
afterwards.
Sorry, it takes me a few minutes to get my walking stick and all my stuff together. Anyway, the activities of this committee include distributing recycling guidelines to each apartment, and information on LED lights. They had worked on making Whitney Center using all LED lights, and so for new residents that come in, this is in the new resident information material that Chris Johnson hands out. And there are several nature films that were shown this year. And on December 15th, there's going to be a program on the Hubble Space Telescope. And, excuse me? Oh, yeah, the James Webb. Sorry. And Arnold Heiser, who is a relatively new resident, is going to be showing some additional pictures and also a little further information. And then Earth Day activities, that's always a big thing at Whitney Center. And this year, Flo McBride led a bird walk that was well received and introduced a lot of people to what is around in the Whitney Center area. And then there's a cleanup of debris on Leader Hill Drive and Treadwell Street, and this is both with the staff and residents. And I want to just thank also Sydney Fite was the secretary, and she took good minutes and kept us sort of in check. And Joe Blumberg is going to tell the next part of this report.
Thank you, Nancy. A major project in which our committee is working, along with Whitney Center management, is to have solar panels installed in order to get our electric power from the sun, as opposed to having it supplied by Eversource or United Illuminating. In view of the diminishing worldwide supply of gas, oil, and coal, we feel that in the long haul, This will be a power source for the entire planet. In the future, this will be the most economic and efficient manner to get power. And I think we all saw that the Connecticut power companies are going to be having major increases in their rates over the next couple of months. We must remember the assets of the earth are not infinite. Along with Ken Sandberg, we have been negotiating with a recommended solar firm to find the best way to go about this. We may also investigate hydropower, which I've been told is another possibility. Hydropower. As I believe you all know, the land behind our buildings belongs to the Olin Corporation, which acquired the Winchester Repeating Arms Company many years ago. When Winchester owned this property, they used this land and lake to try out their weapons and gunpowder. As a direct result, the land and water became polluted and must be remediated. Since Whitney Center is the largest industrial community bordering the land, the town of Hammond requested that we have a resident be a member of the Six Lakes Committee. I am honored to have been asked to be that member, and we will keep you all advised on progress as progress is made on this project. I believe that this thing will take a couple of years before it is completed, and what the town wants to do is turn it into a park so that it will be able to serve the entire community for many years to come. We will keep you all advised on this progress on this project. We want to encourage you all to think about conservation. Do you keep too many lights on in your apartment? Do you see anything being done by Whitney Center that seems wasteful? If you do, don't be afraid to tell Nancy or me about it, and we will bring the complaint to the appropriate party about it. We have to do this for our children, our grandchildren, and future generations. Thank you. The next speaker will be Esther Crystal of the Dining Committee.
Well, the following is a review of the dining services for 2022. The bistro, center stage, pub, and corner store remained open. Meal delivery to residents with special needs continued. Staffing shortages remained a challenge throughout the year. Celebrations for national and religious holidays and Whitney Center events took place. Lobster rolls in the bistro and the tastings of alcoholic beverages in the pub were available each month. Increased attendance at the buffet dinners in the pub reduced the seatings in center stage in the bistro, so the eating area in the pub was extended into the dining room and the living room, not the dining room. Overcrowding in the bistro was thus resolved. An increase in the number of residents with disabilities and special needs was observed. The wait staff responded by being more helpful to those who needed their services. The training and supervision of the wait staff continued. Increased emphasis was made to satisfy the needs of residents who need low salt, sugar-free, and vegetarian options. A Saturday farmers market took place. It was an opportunity for residents to purchase fruits and vegetables from local farms. Family-style dinners in Center Stage became available. There was the introduction of the pop-up dinner, Prime on Main, which featured a 7-course gourmet dinner. Residents enjoyed the option to order an appetizing cheese board in Center Stage. There was a change in appearance in Center Stage. Half of the tables were grouped on one side of the room, and on the other half, there will be a proposed plan to have a small plates service. A reservation clerk was hired to take calls Monday through Friday. Emphasis was placed on consistency with our dining services. We owe a debt of gratitude to our Director of Dining Services, Thomas Hudson, and his staff for meeting the challenges they have had to face, and yet to continue to offer innovative meals for our dining pleasure. I want to thank the members of the Dining Services Committee who have advocated for nutritious, enjoyable, and satisfying meals for Whitney Center residents. The members are Batya Astrakhan, Estelle Baltimore, Louise Bandieri, Sydney Feit, Ina Fisher, Allison Fox, Carol Greenbaum, Marjorie Herzenberg, Thomas Hudson, Ruth Jacobson, Chris Johnson, Evelyn Krevelin, Esther Crystal, Howard Landiato, Rosalind Lefker, Krista Salmons, and Betty Sussman. And this is submitted by Esther Crystal, Chair, and is now my great pleasure to introduce Erwin Braverman, who is Chair of the Film Committee.
So this is a report of the Film Committee. Before COVID came on the scene, the Film Committee was meeting monthly, and they were selecting and screening 12 English and foreign language movies per month. With COVID, we had to stop all that, but we were able to resume in a small way in December 2020, and then in the following year, we were back to our old schedule of 12 English and foreign language movies a month. So our current schedule is 3 movies a week, with one of those movies being screened, the same movie as an evening and a matinee performance on Wednesdays. For the folks who can't stay up late at night, we're offering them the same movie that we would show at night at 2:15 in the afternoon. With the upgrade in the audio-visual equipment in the CAC, we have been able to stream movies of current films in theaters, as well as streaming from Netflix and those other platforms. And with this current Wi-Fi system that was put in last year, we can now reliably stream films on the 6th floor commons, which we couldn't do before. In addition, most viewers have participated in discussions following our screenings. The Film Committee is currently made up of 9 individuals with diverse tastes related to film. And this diversity results in a spectrum of English language and foreign films that have been acceptable to most of our resident viewers. 3 or 4 years ago, we surveyed our residents in relation to the types of movies they liked and disliked. And based on the number of residents who regularly came to our movies, the response to the survey was about 90%. And the respondents also included a list of movies they liked and hoped that we would show. Turned out that most of the movies that were recommended had previously been shown by the film committee during the previous 4 years. So this diversity of our film members really did reflect the tastes of our viewing audience. The film committee is always receptive to suggestions from residents concerning films to be shown. And the committee is working on a plan to publicize the name and content of the movie in a public space, maybe the mailroom, to replace the notifications in our previously distributed detailed weekly printed calendars. So this report, though, would not be complete, nor would our movie program be complete, without thanking Maria Freda for her indispensable contribution to the success of this film program. Maria orders the films from the Whitney Center Netflix account, checks to ensure the films have subtitles, schedules them to arrive in a timely fashion for our viewing, and in the event that Netflix or other platforms don't have the film, Maria graciously drives to Best Video, who usually has the appropriate version for us. And boy, that has saved our necks on many occasions. So the film committee members, you should know who this diverse group are: Debbie Bovilsky, Myra Josephson, Helen Lane, Fran Tabor, Bob Tabor, Steve Gurney, Angelica Shriver, and David Kirsch. And I have to give a thanks to Dick Beals, who, although no longer on the committee, still continues to keep a file of all of our movies so that we have something to look back on and not repeat something within the last 4 years. So I thank you very much for your attention. And the next person to speak will be Lynn Hawkins for the Gardens and Landscape Committee.
Jerry Hesse and I are co-chairs of the Garden and Landscape Committee. And one of the things that we did this year was to rearrange our names. So now instead of Landscape and Garden, we're Garden and Landscape, and we come up sooner at the annual meeting. So enthusiastic gardeners have created what is arguably the most beautiful corner of our campus, north of the north parking lot. You don't have to be a gardener to visit it, as there are plenty of benches to rest on, so you can read or listen to a cacophony of birds. It really can get noisy out there. Or watch butterflies, bees, and hummingbirds enjoy the flowers along with you. The paths were refurbished last summer so you can wander easily among the garden plots. We're irrigated now, so hoses no longer run over the paths. Gardener or not, come to the gardens in April to see daffodils, May for tulips, June for roses, July and August for those showy annuals, including dahlias, zinnias, impatiens, and lots of others, and September and October for chrysanthemums. Summer through first frost, there are tomatoes, various squashes. Early spring finds lettuces, peas, all depending on what various gardeners decide to plant. There is a resident picking garden, otherwise no picking without permission. There's also a butterfly garden at the south end of the South Garage, established by our committee and the Hampton Conservation Trust. This summer, there were lots of butterflies, and when the flowers faded in the fall, it was full of birds dining on the seed heads. You couldn't particularly see them, but it really was noisy in there. If you would like to have a garden here, we are always actually recruiting new gardeners for available plots. To have a garden plot of your own requires only being willing to care for approximately an 8 by 8 square of land, raising whatever you want to plant. One of our gardeners, I think, plants horseradish. So, there's no plant whatever you would like to, wherever there's space. You might be asked to assist at the two summer garden parties in late June and mid-August. Definitely more fun than weeding, although there is something really satisfying about weeding. A couple of summers ago, at the request of a few gardeners, we bought raised planters. When we realized assembling them was trickier than we thought it would be, maintenance stepped in to do that, and we now have 6 raised planters maintained by garden committee members. We have several more, 4 I think, in waiting for gardeners who would like them because we discovered that they were way more popular than we thought they would be. So if you can't bend down to the ground, we have a way to get a garden up to you. One of our members provides the flower arrangements for center stage dining room, as well as arrangements in other public areas of both the south and north buildings. When we are in bloom, she often uses the flowers and grasses from the gardens, with permission, and other areas around the campus. They beautify our home. We will resume monthly meetings of the committee in March as things begin to peak up through the soil and even, if necessary, through the snow. We meet on the second Monday of the month, March through October at 10:45 in the morning, just for your information. By the way, having a garden plot puts you on the committee. We don't take strict attendance. Retiring from active gardening does not get you off the committee, for we value the opinions of those retired members. This year, the Garden and Landscape Committee members are and were Betty Lou and Joe Blumberg, Floyd Kaplan, Lucien Koifman, Gus Davis, Allison Fox, Carol and Rolf Gelstead, Judy Harper, Jerry Hess, of course, Georgia and Steve Jennings, Chris and Jim Johnson, Marilee Kaplan, Yvonne Kolodny, Ellen Melnick, Janet Mikow, Nancy Rosenbaum, Alda Saunders. She does the interior flowers around inside the building. Mark Schwartz, Greg Seaman, George Seligman, Alan Sparrow, Joe Stone, and Conrad Totman. Now, Alicia Jones, standing in for Chair Betsy Stern, will tell you about the Health Services Committee.
Good afternoon. As Lynn said, Betsy Stern is ill and asked me to read her report. She is chairperson of the Health Services Committee. I was elected chair of the Health Services Committee at the January meeting, replacing Rosalind Lefker. Ann Schwartz was named to replace Lynn Hawkins as secretary. At our February meeting, Peggy Joyce updated the group on the COVID situation. Here she reported on the requirements from the state of Connecticut Health, as well as those that Whitney Center could mandate. There were many questions about testing, vaccine and booster injections, and the coverage they afforded. Also discussed were the goals of the committee, which were originally meant to be a resource for health programs. It was suggested that loneliness might be a problem, especially for those isolated in their apartments. The idea of a program of friendly visitors to residents referred by liaisons was suggested. 6 members signed up to participate as visitors, with strict attention paid to the necessity for confidentiality. Following programs acquainted us with services offered here, as well as the ongoing procedures dealing with COVID. At our June meeting, Kim Carlin discussed Friendly Visitors Program. Nick Aceto and other staff from the Memory Unit invited all of us to visit there and also reminded us that all healthcare residents were welcome to participate in all activities at Whitney Center. More questions and discussions about COVID protocols for residents and visitors and staff ensued, with special concerns evidenced about COVID's effect on all at our July meeting. August meeting was canceled. COVID was again the focus of residents' concern, with many questions on contagion and procedures which should be followed, as well as the difficulties many were experiencing with the new K4 system, which to many seemed to be demanding and expertise with computers they did not have. The Friendly Visitor Program reported on the rewards and difficulties some were experiencing. At our October meeting, Peggy Joyce spoke about the Meadow Mills purchase and its programs and what that will mean to Whitney Center residents. An informative film on eye problems for aging adults was presented with the help of Michelle Pandolfi, who obtained it for showing here by our IT staff. In the future, we will look to the availability of similar programs as we determine the interests of our community and the committee goals. Our next person to report for their committee will be Chris Johnson.
So I'm always reminded about this event. And 10 years ago, for your pleasure, Frances Puttycombe, one of the residents here, would come up and give her report of Knit and Stitch, which at that time was a committee. And she always wrote a poem for her entire report. So I'm sure it was much more entertaining for all of you. I'm sorry, but anyway, no poem here. This is the report for the Hospitality Committee. The Hospitality Committee increased memberships to 17 participants this year. And after a slow start because of COVID-19, by March we began our regular programs and interactions. Through the rest of the year, we've greeted new move-ins with hospitality bags, which Sue Davis compiles with information and gifts, and worked to catch up with those we missed in 2021 during the months we were closed. During the rest of the year, we've worked tirelessly to greet new residents and invite them to dinner, lunch, or special events. The ice cream socials were held again every other Friday in the bistro from 3 to 4, with only a couple of breaks because of COVID. Members of the committee, Betty Sumner, Marilee Kaplan, and Carol Greenbaum, dependently assisted Colette Buckles with the Sunday preparation, and Carol Wilson and Ernie Jones greeted the residents. During the fall, several Thrive at Home members came for ice cream regularly, which was a welcome way to meet them. During 2022, Mike Ramboros met with 36 newer residents through the program created and organized by the Hospitality Committee, which is called Conversations with Mike. Once a month, a different group of 5 to 6 residents meets with Mike in the bistro for an opportunity to talk together and learn more about each other. In April, for a different approach, Mike met with our 2 100-year-old residents, Elizabeth Mayo and Betty Green. There are 2 interest groups that have some connection with hospitality. The Storytelling Slam was started with the Hospitality Committee, but now is skillfully emceed by Gus Davis and John Watson. This year it has been a great success. 31 residents told short or long stories. Some volunteered 6 or 7 different times. As we continue this program, we hope even more residents will volunteer. Also, for the second year in a row, the Knit and Stitch group made scarves for Christmas gifts for our staff. Starting in October, many of us knit more than 20 scarves, and Susan Bartholomew alone added 27 more. Bravo to her.
I want to express my appreciation to Debbie Kohlberg, our liaison, for her help and advice, and my great appreciation to all the members of the Hospitality Committee who have worked so tirelessly to welcome our new residents. Thank you. Sorry, I should have said. Our next speaker is Carol Gilstead from House and Grounds. Sorry.
House and Grounds Committee. The description of this committee is the House and Grounds Committee is concerned with and reports to Whitney Center management any problems related to the appearance, safety, and accessibility of all public areas of buildings and grounds. A subcommittee of the House and Grounds Committee coordinates the installation of artwork throughout residential corridors. An ex officio representative of Whitney Center Management attends each meeting to hear and provide updates on residents' concerns and suggestions. We've been very fortunate to have a very responsive maintenance and housekeeping department taking care of our work orders and requests, usually within 2 days, unless there is a staffing or supply chain or parts issue. I would encourage you, if you haven't tried yet, to utilize the K4 app to enter work orders for public areas and for your apartments. You can enter work orders for maintenance, housekeeping, or IT, or for any problems that you see in the public areas as well as your apartment. You will receive an email if you enter through K4 confirming your work order, and you will get notices of updates or completion. Of course, you can continue to call or go to the north or south desk for work orders to be entered, but you will not get updates you receive when you do the K4. Just for your information, IT gave me some statistics, and between August the 1st and November the 20th, approximately 2,344 work orders had been completed. Of course, of those, 1,844 were residential, and about 12% of those were submitted through K4. So good for you who submitted through K4. Concerns of House and Grounds that have been discussed this year include the plant room, which will be retained as a plant room, as you all are well aware now, and the former bridge room is now going to be the meditation room for residents and staff with funds that were donated through philanthropy. Some adjustments have been made to the therapy room on the back corridor of Main Street to decrease lighting glare and provide some privacy screening for the therapy tables. Other types of issues members have reported and have been responded to by maintenance and housekeeping include damaged walls, doors, furniture with loose arms, legs, rungs needing repair, lighting concerns, fire door issues, problems with laundry rooms, cleaning of public areas, and resident corridors. Our resident corridors are now vacuumed and dusted weekly, and public areas cleaned regularly. Mike Ramboros met with the committee in February and went over capital projects for the year and helped the committee understand the need to set priorities with limited funds, safety being the most important, then apartment mechanics and building equipment. It was made clear that concerns such as refurbishment of the 6th floor commons area, plus looking at the 1st floor public areas of the pub, center stage, and living room, remain on the capital projects list for consideration in the next year. Resident Hall Art Team has assisted approximately 20 residents in selecting and hanging art in the corridors outside their apartment. Thank you to the few dedicated House and Grounds Committee members. House and Grounds would encourage more residents to become involved and represent their floor in the north and south building to ensure their eyes are keeping track and reporting problems on the resident floors in addition to the 1st floor public areas and the 6th floor public area and space to work with staff to ensure your home is the best it can be. Remember, this is your home. So please feel free and enter work orders in K4 or report them to the north and south desk when something is in need of repair, cleaning, or not working. And I will call Mike McBride for the lecture committee.
During 2022, the committee sponsored 25 Monday evening lectures, 14 in the spring, 11 in the fall. And if people are interested, I have a list of all of them so you can remember what they were. The first 6 lectures in the spring were delivered by Zoom and on Channel 102. But by March, we had returned to live lectures in the CAC here with full house lectures by Tim Snyder and Linda Greenhouse. With the fall transition to publicity by electronic bulletin boards and K4, there have been challenges in raising awareness of the Monday lectures. While the committee welcomes these new forms of publicity, we worry that the absence of eye-catching notices in the elevators and on hard copy bulletin boards may cause some residents to lose track of appealing lectures, as I lose track of many things. I would like to see, could I have a show of hands of how many people think they've missed lectures that they would have liked to go to because they didn't know about it? Okay, it's a significant number, but not a majority by any means. Thanks for that information. Going forward, we continue to welcome nominations of potential speakers and topics. We anticipate 14 or 15 lectures this spring, and we already have most of those speakers scheduled. So the residents who've served on the committee during this period are Bitsy Clark, Gus Davis, David Fisher, Dodie Gall, Steve Gurney, Annika Hathaway, who's co-chair, Arnold Heiser, myself who's co-chair, Barbara Oberg, John Tully, Tom Wallace. I'd like to thank all these folks. And also, importantly, the staff support we have from Janet Fowler with publicity, Nick Ricciardi and Connor Hunt with running the AV system, Maria Freda and Melissa DeGrand. And in connection with publicity, I'd like to remind everyone that this evening there's going to be a wonderful lecture by Jean Stellman, who's professor emerita and special lecturer in the School of Public Health at Columbia, and she's going to speak about 40 years of longitudinal studies on American Legionnaires, that is, mainly people who returned from Vietnam, and the problems they've faced. So I think that will be a very interesting lecture, and I hope it'll come out. Thank you, and Gay, you're going to speak for the library committee.
My goodness, a lot of people. I'm fortunate to share the responsibility for maintaining the library with 14 other residents who are also committed to making it an excellent resource for us all. This includes folks who live here on campus, Thrive at Home members, and the staff. We are definitely a working committee, and we take great pride in our efforts. Many residents come to the library to read the New York Times, the New Haven Register, and the Wall Street Journal every day. The library committee pays for these subscriptions, and they are expensive. The newspapers are for everyone's use. They don't belong to any one person, and they should always remain in the library. You may giggle at that, but I can't tell you how many times people call me and say, the register is not on the table, it's missing. And we just have to remember that these newspapers are to be shared by everybody. We order new books for our collection 3 times a year, in January and in May and in September. We take a subcommittee from our larger committee to make our selections, and we've found over the years that most of our readers enjoy mysteries and novels. That does not mean, however, that we don't ever buy any nonfiction. So if you have ideas for books that you would like the library to purchase, please don't hesitate to speak to a member of the library committee. We have instituted a date stamp system. Probably some of you are aware of this. This is a reaction and hopefully a help to those of you who say, gee, I took a book out and I have no idea when it's due. We keep a date stamp, and there's a form in the back of the book, and all you do is stamp your book and you know when your book is due. It's possible to renew most of the books, and so you can call me, or you could just leave a note on the library desk saying that you would like to renew your book. One quick thought about that is, if you have a book that you've been telling a friend what a wonderful read it is, please don't give it directly to your friend. We really do try to keep track of our books, and please go through the library system before you share your good read with someone else. In June, we held an open house to recognize William Beach, who was one of the founders of Whitney Center. Mike Ramboros spoke about Mr. Beach and the founding of the institution. You'll notice that there is now a gold plaque over the Main Street entrance to the library with Mr. Beach's name. The library committee was unaware of Mr. Beach until Lynn Hawkins told us about him. And what had happened was, when the original North Building was built, the library, which was in the pub area, was named after Mr. Beach. And then when the new library was built, his name did not follow. And Lynn felt that it was very important that he be recognized as one of the instrumental founders of Whitney Center. So we were delighted to do that, and we had a very nice afternoon reception. The library is open all the time, 24/7. Everyone is welcome. If you want to just come and sit, if you want to come and read, if you want to chat quietly with a friend, we're very happy to have you come. This is our home. We do ask, however, that you not bring food and drink. That has come up as an issue. Things are going to get messy in the library if we bring in food and drinks, so please restrain yourselves. Have your cup of coffee before you come read your newspaper. Hate to say that, but I think it's best for all of us. We love it that so many people are using the library. We love to hear your suggestions. And I would just like to share the names of my very wonderful committee. Blanche Augustinelli, Bacha Astrachan, Peg Campbell, Mary Alice Frankenberger, John Jones, Helena Platt, Kim Rakusin, Barbara Rashba, Nancy Rosenbaum, Krista Sammons, Charlotte Schwartz, Betsy Stern, Sheila Taub, and Roberta Thornton. Thank you very much and enjoy the library.
Our next speaker will be the same person who began. It will be Dodi Gold, Chair of the Music Committee.
So I think you may be happy to know that I'm the last of the Mohicans here. But what a fabulous group of committee chairs and the wonderful things that we are offered here at Whitney Center. It's really tremendous. I am the chair of the Music Committee, and the members are Lucy Ambach, Judy Long, Roberta Thornton, Al Agostinelli, Peter Hunt, and we have Lynn Hawkins, who's been very helpful. She's our council liaison. So for many years now, residents of Whitney Center have enjoyed the concerts on Sunday afternoons at 4 p.m., Come Early, which are organized by the Music Committee. These take place from September through May every year. The fall 2022 performances have included the pianists Alexis Steer, Derek Hartman, Anthony Ratanoff, Wendy Sharp on the violin, the trio Andata strings, and a string quartet from the Yale School of Music, the Elm City Winds Quintet, plus yesterday's Christmas performance from Orchestra New England, which we hope will be an annual Christmas event. And the Music Committee is busy organizing our January through May 2023 concert, which will feature several Yale School of Music faculty pianists who have already signed on, a quintet of Yale student players, the premier quartet from Neighborhood Music School, pianist Jeff Barnett, who will demonstrate the pianist's role in silent movies. Thank you to Lynn Hawkins for that suggestion. Wall Street Chamber Players will come back. Wendy Sharp and her violin students, which we always enjoy. And again, a four-hands piano performance by Derek Hartman and Alexa Steer. Come early. Again, it will be crowded. We're fortunate to have a long relationship with the Yale School of Music, and as you know, often feature their faculty and students on a variety of instruments. We also try to explore other possibilities within the greater New Haven area, such as Neighborhood Music School faculty and Music Haven. We look forward to continue presenting varied musical concerts in this coming spring of 2023. Again, do come early. Thank you.
We have now heard from every single chair of our standing committees. Now is a time for anyone with any questions to either the different committees chair or ourselves here. Now is a time for you to ask those questions. I guess that everything that was told was very appropriate and very sufficient, since there's no questions. We are now going to move on to the next speaker, and I'm going to ask Meryl Menon, the chair of the nominating committee, to come up to the podium. Meryl.
Good afternoon. I'm Meryl Menon, chair of the nominating committee. As always, I'm awed and appreciative of all the work done by the volunteers of the many committees at Whitney Center. They provide residents with continuing, enriching experiences that make our lives here enjoyable and meaningful. I would like to thank all the residents who participated in the process of nominating and electing the new representatives to the Residents' Council, and particularly the members of the nominating committee. Debbie Volvilsky, Kai Erickson, Mary Alice Frankenberger, and Susan Meredith. Many residents have commented on what an excellent slate of candidates we had and how hard it was to choose. I look forward, along with all of you, to learning the names of those who were chosen to be the new members, and introduce to you Steve Jennings, chair of the Tellers Committee.
Yes, it was indeed a distinguished group of people to vote for. I want to thank the two members of the great committee. We met for all of I think, 3 hours almost to do the tallying, but we succeeded. The other two members who I greatly appreciate the help of, and we had a good time. We had a few laughs too, not at the candidates. Helena Platt and Carol Schreiber, thank you. Because of the resignation of the council president, Susie, is it proper to say resignation or you're stepping down?
Same seat.
Okay. Following this meeting, the selection of a seventh member, I know you voted for 6 who were supposed to fill out the open slots. We added a seventh because of that. So the new council will meet, as you probably know, right after the adjournment of this meeting. So there will be 7 people whose names I'll be reading shortly. I thought I would say something about the counting process. I developed a tally sheet that was quite a long one. Because we had 192 ballots. One of them was not filled in, so we actually had 191 actual certified ballots. And what we did was we paused, the 3 of us took turns counting and recording. We paused after each 25 counts, 25 ballots, so that in case there were any mistakes, there were a few, but we eventually all agreed before we went on to count the next 25, so that we didn't have to go back through 191 ballots to find out where we had made the mistake. So rest assured, there are no mistakes in our final count. I'll keep the tally sheets and especially the ballots for a week following this meeting, and then I will have them shredded, just in case. Now, I have the envelope right here. I don't have to ask anyone for it. The new members of the next council in alphabetical order are Joe Blumberg, Steve Gurney, Chris Johnson, Alicia Jones, Esther Crystal, Perry Level, and John Tilley. Congratulations on your election.
Yes, could the new members please stand so we can recognize you?
Good idea.
Congratulations to all, and let's also remember that there are several members of this current committee who will be joining them as well on the next committee. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and thank you for sharing, and thank you for sharing your opinions with us. I'm sorry. Ken? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
There is Ken.
Susie.
Peggy.
So Susie, Mike Rambros gives his regards. He wasn't able to attend today, but he did ask Peggy and I to speak on his behalf and on behalf of Robert Simeone, our chair of the board and the board of directors. I'll say a couple of words, and my colleague Peggy will say a couple of words, because as you know, we've spent a lot of time with you. And I'll just keep my remarks very brief, Susie. I think of 2 words when I think of you. I think of partnership, and I think of community. You are an amazing partner not only to us here in administration, but you're a partner to the residents, you're a partner to the Residents Council, and to the residents' community. And it takes all these partners to make a beautiful community here. And we really do appreciate your commitment and your dedication to this community. So thank you for your dedication for the last 3 years. And trust me, we're still going to call upon you, and you know that.
Susie, I think Ken said it all, but you've been a wonderful partner. You've always made me feel very important to this organization, and I really appreciate that about you. Your commitment is beyond approach. It's just been wonderful. So on behalf of Mike, Bob Simeone, our chair, and Ken and I, we'd like to present you with these flowers as a thank you.
No. Not at this time of year. Now, I didn't realize we were going to be overwhelming you with flowers, but, and already so much has been said. We are very much going to miss your guidance, Susie. You've been wise about guiding discussions toward things that are significant and important and keeping us on track and not getting distracted by trivia. You've been really good at that. So we would like also to give you some flowers. These you just have to add water to. And also little bouquets for the 3 retiring members of the council, to Phyllis, to Bitsy, and to Irwin, who have really, really worked hard as members of the council and made a difference to all of us.
Thank you again, everyone, and the members of the committee. And unless there are more flowers coming, we can dismiss this meeting. Thank you. Except the new members of the committee who will meet now in the back room.
And could the people who made reports please give me a copy of their report for the minutes? Thank you.